Over the past few years, I've taken a look at quite a few Consolized MVS units. Those are the arcade boards from the Neo Geo arcade machines, pulled out of that and consolized to play on your TV, just like, the Neo Geo AES home console. It's definitely a nice option if you're into original hardware, as if you like to collect cartridges, it's quite a bit cheaper for the MVS versus the AES. And after having looked at so many different versions out there of Consolized MVSs, some are really cool, have a lot of features, and then some have just, I've been burned on. I think sometimes just keeping it simple, straight to the point, may be better. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, a simple, straight to the point MVS unit, the OpenMVS. I'm going to be taking a look at the inside of this device, giving you guys a little footage of games being played, captured through different various means, the RetroTink, the OSSC, HD Retrovision cables, and the Rad2X. But before we get all into that, let's talk about today's sponsor. Oh, wait a minute, I don't have a sponsor. My sponsor is myself. So if you're interested and you want to support this channel, I do have a brand new website, madpixelshop.com, where I sell previously reviewed items, games from my collection, little things here and there just to kind of keep afloat, be able to buy more stuff for reviews. So if you're interested, take a look. Really would appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get right on into it. So the OpenMVS I pre-ordered from TaiToc.org. He sells both fully assembled units and DIY kits. If you go the DIY kit route, all you need is an MV1C board and very little in the way of soldering skills. From what I understand, the only thing that you need to solder in this unit is the stereo audio cables, and that's pretty much it. Pretty much you just drop it in, assemble it, and you're good to go. Very simple stuff. So I think the DIY kit route may be very enticing to a lot of people, but if you're not comfortable with all that, keep an eye out for the fully assembled version. Now, I did pre-order this a while back, and then my turn came up to pay. He was doing like a pre-order with certain specific windows of time that you would most likely, purchase your unit. He can only do so much. This is, not a manufactured thing in a plant. This is a guy out there in Seattle, Washington doing all this work. So this unit cost me $350. Came with Unibios 4.0 installed. I believe that may have been an option to ask for. You could leave it stock if you want. And on the back side of the unit, we simply have power and a Genesis Model 2 style AV port. Now that's for, RGB. We could use HD Retrovision cables. We could use the Rad2X, any of the Genesis cables that you may have for Model 2 Genesis, mind you. And pretty simple stuff. I mean, you don't have a ton of different options here, but being able to use like HD Retrovision cables, I think is enough for most people. Having that Genesis Model 2 output is pretty cool. On the front of the unit, we simply have a power button and then a test button. So the test button on the right will take you to the hardware test screen if you're in the game. Pretty much like a reset button, but it takes you to that hardware test screen. Now, this whole thing being, made in America, assembled, whatever, this is a, like something made from a guy out there, who's an enthusiast and whatnot. It is all 3D printed. Does have, some imperfections here and there, but I actually really like the way it looks. It's small. The form factor is nice. How everything looks, it's neat. I mean, it's all I really want out of a Consolized MVS. Doesn't have all the flashy, crazy stuff going on that you'll never need. I think the most that people will ever need on an MVS unit is Unibios 4.0. I mean, that gives you tons of options, being able to have a region-free unit, because all Neo Geo cartridges have all the regions on them. It's just based on the unit, the console that you're using. So with the Unibios 4.0, you can change it to either, Japan, Europe, or USA, and you can also change it to MVS or home mode, the AES. So essentially, you have an AES console if you really wanted to. I prefer to play MVS because you could add credits with the select button on your controller, but, some people may like to mess around on AES. Some of the games have different options when you play in AES mode, so that's definitely cool. The quality of this thing, being all 3D printed, it looks fantastic in my opinion. Definitely, it would have been nice if this was like a mold injected type plastic thing going on for the shell, but I can appreciate, the homebrew aspect of this whole thing, and it being supposedly going to be open source. The files for all this stuff are going to be put out there at some point where you could just manipulate them, print it yourself as far as the case goes, and make your own design. I think that's pretty neat. Now, I did wind up taking this apart to take a look at the inside, just out of curiosity. You know, I know what most Consolized MVS units look like, and typically nothing crazy going on here. We do have a rechargeable battery in here. The JAMA edge is, you know, plugged into the front with our AES style Neo Geo controller port. So you're not going to have USB. You're not going to have Sega Saturn controllers. You're going to have that DB15 Neo Geo port, which is pretty cool because if you want to make your own Neo Geo arcade stick, I've done videos on that. Just take a look. It's simple because you don't need a PCB. You just need the damn cable and wire it appropriately for the, you know, each pin to what the buttons are and what the stick directions are, and for coin and, you know, start. Pretty simple stuff, and I can appreciate that with these connections. Not having all sorts of, you know, other options would be kind of cool, but just to be able to have what I already know and love is fine by me. So keep that stuff in mind. You're just going to be using AES style arcade sticks or something that you've made yourself or something that somebody else has made, right? But on the inside of this thing, it's pretty damn clean. That rechargeable battery, the UniBIOS being soldered in, everything looks really nice. I just couldn't take the whole thing off because the way this thing was like kind of sandwiched together, I couldn't get one of the sides and the back to slide off. And I just, with it being a 3D print, like any product, man, if you like drop this on the floor or you're, you know, twist things a certain way when it comes to plastics, you'll break it. And I didn't want to risk that. So I just kind of had to wedge it open like a clam. Give you a little peek inside, right? Now, as far as the way the visuals and sound, using that, you know, Sega Genesis Model 2 output via all the different means that I mentioned earlier, the visuals, the video, the sound is fantastic. I have nothing to complain about. I've used other, you know, MVS consolized units where the video was just so dark or either blown out. Like there was really no way to do anything other than change settings on your TV. And I hate doing that. I just want to plug the bitch in and play. I don't want to fiddle with the TV to get, you know, the visuals to look right. And for me, any of these different options that I have looked fantastic. Of course, going HD Retrovision through the OSSC, I went 4 times lines. I don't like going 5 times lines because on the Neo Geo, it does cut off a portion of the screen. And 4 times lines looks fantastic. Most of the time on the TV I play on, I leave it at 3x, but the visuals you're seeing here are at 4 times lines. And it looks fantastic. So now checking this out with the RetroTink Pro, you're getting some nice visuals here. Obviously, you're not going to have the same options with the OSSC, but for me, it looks great and really all I need. I mean, you're getting 2 times lines with the video output. It's going to be very similar to what the Rad2X looks like, which we'll take a look at in a second here. But same thing, clean visuals, clear audio, looking and sounding great. So now using the Rad2X, which for me, I just absolutely love. I have the Rad2X for pretty much every console that I have. It's simple plug and play HDMI. I love it. No power supply needed. Visuals are going to look pretty much the same as the RetroTink 2X Pro, in my opinion. I mean, there may be some slight variances, but as far as using the Rad2X and the simplicity of just plugging it in, I think it looks fantastic and it sounds great. So my final thoughts on this thing, the money that I paid, you know, $350 or so, is somewhere around there. I forget which shipping. I feel like it's not a bad, you know, purchase. I really enjoy this thing. I love it. It's going to stay in my arsenal for a while as far as what I play MVS games on. Of course, there's tons of options out there, emulation, FPGA. We know that, but, you know, these videos, I like to just cover options out there for people who are interested. And this is one I really do like. Now, the price can seem a little high. There are cheaper alternatives out there as far as consolized MVSs go. But, you know, sometimes buying stuff, like I've already said, on AliExpress or just from some crazy websites out in China, you never know what you're gonna get. And I was seeing a lot of positivity being spoken about this OpenMVS, and I wanted to check it out. That's why I threw my pre-order down, you know, as early as I could when I found out about it. And I'm very satisfied with it. I think it suits my needs very well. It just works. It's not complicated. Doesn't have no crazy bells and whistles that you'll never need. So definitely happy with it. If you're interested, links in the description. Really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me today on this one. And I will catch y'all next time. Peace out. Bye-bye. And boom. Bye.